Hello everybody, welcome back to my October Mega Monster Horror Halloween, whatever you want to call this. Today we are talking about The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll from 1960. This was a Hammer Horror Productions version of the Jekyll and Hyde story. This was not their first one. Their first one is a film called The Ugly Duckling. But my understanding is that that was a comedy, so I wanted to go with something a little bit more traditional. I don't have a ton of notes, but this was definitely more in the vein of the story than the Abbott and Costello version was. Why is that getting a glare? But it's still pretty different. Let's get through my notes. Right from the very beginning, we have this focus on the duality of man, which is very much what the story was about. That may have been present in the Abbott and Costello version, but it's not something that I picked up on. Certainly, it's not something that was a continuous theme throughout the movie. This movie, which sadly my version did not have subtitles. I very much dislike it when I cannot add subtitles. Even without the subtitles, it was, even with the accents, that was very clearly a big part of the catalyst for this plot. Very interestingly, there's no monster. Mr. Hyde is not a monster, but not only is there no monster, the closest that we get is Jekyll. So the roles are kind of reversed. So Jekyll is this very hairy, he's got this huge beard, lots of hair, big old mustache hanging down, and he talks with a very, very deep voice. And then Mr. Hyde, when he comes into play, he's clean shaven, he speaks with a much higher voice. And so it's the opposite of what you would expect. If you saw a poster for this movie with Jekyll and Hyde pictured, who are both played by the same guy, did a great job, I think, you would assume the reverse. And that must have been intentional. I think it was very interesting. And a big part of the story, the original story, I don't want to call it a book because it's not a book, but a big part of the original story was that Jekyll felt constrained, that he couldn't do what he wanted to do. And so he felt constrained by that. And so Hyde was like his outlet. Hyde can go do all the fun, bad stuff that I'm not supposed to do. And I can still be a respected member of society. And that is what this movie focuses on, but with a slight twist. Because in the story, it's more violent. He attacks, it's more focused on his attacks and things like that. At least from my recollection. In the book, it's about going out and being in clubs and being in parties and being with girls and doing all the things that a young man in London would want to do, as opposed to Dr. Jekyll, who is married and who is not a socialite, is not extroverted, right? And so it's kind of a different twist on it, but it's still very much Hyde is the release to Jekyll's more restrained personality. And that was my last note, was that it's all about the social aspect. So it's a little bit different, a little more of an adult theme to this than I was expecting, but I think it plays much more closely to the tone and the themology of the story than obviously Abbott and Costello. That was a comedy, so what do you expect? But I dug this pretty well. I liked that they Uno reversed which personality was Jekyll and which one was Hyde. Christopher Lee is in this, like many of the Hammer horror films. And yeah, I think maybe the second half tended to drag a bit for me, but I think it's pretty decent adaptation. So this is a short video. That's all I got to say on The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll. Let me know any thoughts that you have, but that's everything that I have to say. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day. Hey everybody, Sam Tom here. Just wanted to let you know that I have 2 channels. If you're watching my music content, I also have a movie channel where I talk about movies and TV shows. If you're watching my movie content, I have a music channel where I do song covers, instrument demos, things like that. So feel free to check that out. Obviously, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube stuff. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.